Last month, this YouTube channel reached 1000 subscribers. Thanks to all of you for watching my videos. And I even got a YouTube play button. I didn't get it from YouTube. I think I would need a lot more subscribers to get one from YouTube. You know what to do. This play button is much cooler than the YouTube ones, I assume. One of my great friends 3D printed and presented it to me. That was such a cool surprise and I absolutely love this. Being kind of a real YouTube maker now, I was told it was customary to build a subscriber counter. I just don't want to build a plain old display. But I've also been thinking about building a cat toy lately. Why don't I combine these two things? You see, our cats love to play with these little pipe cleaners. They especially like it when the pipe cleaner hides or disappears in small gaps or slits. So why don't I let the kittens participate in the YouTube views and subscriptions and build a cat toy that reacts to those? I already have some things that I think I can use for this project. This is the mounting plate for the original hot end of my 3D printer. I don't need it anymore because I upgraded the printer with a direct extruder that came with its own mounting. I also have a little DC motor that I want to use for lateral movement of the pipe cleaner. And to control everything, I will be using an ESP32 development board. To display information, I have a little LCD display, and I also have a servo motor that I want to use for the pipe cleaner to move back and forth. Fun side note, when I tried this servo motor, I noticed that it wasn't working really well, and when I disassembled it, I realized that one of these little gears in here was broken. So I decided to try to 3D print a replacement gear with the SLA printer. And this is definitely by far the smallest functional part that I ever 3D printed. And it actually worked. Unfortunately, it only worked a few times. The resin is just too brittle for this kind of application. In the meantime, I bought a new replacement servo for this project. I also bought this drive belt that I want to use to move the carriage, which will hold the servo and the pipe cleaner. I 3D printed some additional parts. A rail for the little carriage to go on, a mounting for the servo motor, a mounting for the DC motor, a mounting for another pulley. The DC motor also gets its own pulley. And the second pulley is mounted with a 3D printable bearing that I found on Thingiverse. So I've got the parts. Now I need something to mount this to. Let's see. Found a piece of wood. That should work. So this took me quite a bit longer than I hoped it would. It's been a few days since I recorded something on camera. That's because I have been busy putting all of the electronics in here, and because I was running out of time, I didn't even have time to close up the case or put my logo up here or anything like that. But I think we should be in a functional state right now. So let's have a look at what I've actually built here. The whole thing is powered by a 12-volt power supply. That's because the DC motor runs on 12 volts. Everything else runs on 5 volts. That's why I have a little step-down converter over here. The brain of everything is the ESP32 development board over here. Originally, I was planning to use this relay to turn on and off the motor power. However, it turned out that the ESP32 wasn't strong enough to trigger this relay. Luckily, I had one transistor lying around that should be able to handle the current of the motor. I do have two relays up here that I use to turn around the polarity of the motor power supply in order to be able to turn the motor in both directions. The LCD display is mounted up here, and below that are a bunch of switches to control everything. And of course, the servo is mounted on the moving carriage. Now I have tested the electronics in here individually, but I haven't tested the whole package. But I think if I haven't done any big mistakes, this should actually be working. So let's see what happens if I turn it on. It should connect to Wi-Fi, which it does, and then it should load the number of channel subscribers and the total number of views of all of my videos. Now we can see so far it doesn't move. That's because I haven't activated any of these two switches. If I flip this subscriber switch, it should look at the number of subscribers and then calculate a movement pattern from the number of subscribers. The same is true if we flip the view switch, then it will look at the number of views and calculate a movement pattern from that. And if we activate both switches, it should combine these numbers and do a movement from that. So let's see if it works. Haha, this is so cool! It's a bit loud, but it's working. Okay, after it's done the movement pattern, it takes a break of 5 seconds and then does it again. Okay, let's see how the views look like. I love this. This is working so well. I wasn't expecting that. Okay, the device works. This means we can end this video. Wait, you want to see how the cats react to it? Well, okay, I want to see that too. Our cat Whiskey immediately comes running whenever anything is going on. And the first thing he wants to know is what's going on inside, like a true YouTube maker. The other cat, Ragnar, is a little bit more skeptical. But soon, curiosity wins him over. I'm really pleased with how well this turned out to be working. In the future, I want to make it a little bit nicer and finish up the case. But for today, thank you for watching and see you next time on Matu Makes.